No, they spoke of something.
Guruk began, and the chief ended.
Speak!
The chief shouted. Guru gulped.
Bring purple, make whole.
Guruk spoke? Both Guruk and the chieftain glanced in momentary awe at the space between them. It was as if the weight of those words occupied the space, manifesting itself into some invisible shape in the air before said shape slowly expanded and rung out like a low hum, like a sonic boom that was not heard as much as felt through the bones, as if you could hear it not through your body but through your soul. Even outside the hum of work slowed to a stop, and the orcs stared at nothing, wondering perhaps if the drums of war are calling, and they missed the invitation. Because everyone knows if you don't get invited to war, you're as good as being the tribe's loser.
Good, explain.
The chief recovered quickly from the words spoken, realigning himself and looking down at Gurog with a bewildered expression that tried to maintain its previously menacing tone with quite a bit of difficulty.
I don't know, Chief. That's why I came to you.
Gurog felt the pressure of the words fade. For now, they no longer invaded his mind. The spirits wanted him to tell this to the chief. They needed him to know.
I must leave. The spirits draw me somewhere. It's far to the northwest. I can feel their pull.
Guruk tried to explain. They need to leave bubbled in him, now stronger than the need to speak out those words. Left to find this purple thing, whatever it might be.
You are speaking. A life shark. A big one.
The chief stated harshly, once more reaffirming his workplace boss-like tone, where if you hear it, you immediately know that no matter what you try to say in your defense, things are going to go badly for you. And as if by that, the sound returned to the outside, although less of war preparation and more the shouts of battle, which was in itself a kind of orc war preparation. Gurog the chief did not seem to mind.
How do you know this, Chief?
Guruk was immediately intrigued. He knew nothing of this, but the spirits knew the chief would know. But how did the chief know? Aside from that, it was obvious the spirits knew he would know. The spirits know everything that anyone knows, after all.
Do not question me. Bring it here.
The chief said and grunted. Gurog almost let his intrigue overcome his common sense, but he realized just a moment sooner than he was about to open his mouth that the chief was about to clobber him across the room not a few sentences ago. So maybe it was best not to push the subject.
Of course.
Guru grunted lowly and bent his head.
You will go alone. Tell no one about this.
The chief commanded. Guru grunted in approval. After all, both of them knew the shaman had his ways to avoid the elven border patrols with the magic of the spirits. A single brown orc against the forest is a smudge. The rushing group of brown-skinned brutes in the forest is elven target practice. That aside, Guruk does not plan to share whatever it is the spirit promised him with anyone else. He will only do so with the chief if it turns out he could use it to gain back his position.
Gurug, that's it.
Guruk finished the conversation in the ceremonial orc manner, blessing the chief with blood that shall spill and please the spirits.
Gurug,
the chief stated in turn, less enthusiastically, as he seemed to be thinking, but his strong voice made the departure blessing clear nonetheless. Gurug went for the door and quickly let himself out, where he was met with one eye. They stared at one another for a while longer as the door came to a clanky close. Gurug could never read one eye. Did he know what they were just talking about in there? No. Gurug repositioned his thoughts. No way. If Gurug could not do so without the spirit's aid, this one would not. He declined another staring contest and went to Tusk at the bottom of those stone steps. Tusk seemed to have occupied itself with stealing food from a nearby tent and mauling the resisting orc grunts with his tusks, then also eating part of the orc, then remembering orcs aren't that tasty, then putting back the part of the orc he tried to eat out next to the rest of the uneaten orc. He saw the crowd of brown skin depart from the action that must have stopped moments before he stepped out. Now all that was left was a corpse with a few ceramic jugs with its blood by its side for later use. Never waste blood, that's part of the tribe's motto. Think about it now, Tusk had a good idea, Guruk thought, and caught Tusk on the broadside. Guruk began to wander around nearby tents, grabbing food, bags of clothes, and all their necessities he could throw on Tusk. Of course, not all orcs knew who he was or had formally agreed to have their food and items taken, and thus Guruk had to teach them with a stony forehead to the cranium why it was not a good idea to get on his nerves right now. You could say his meeting with the chief did not leave him too pleased. A few unconscious brown skins later, Guruk was ready for travel, at least until he'd reach his own camp. He hopped onto Tusk and commanded,
Assault!
and Tusk marched forth out of the chief's camp and into the wilderness. Up in the chief's hut, wood was trying to break free from its restrictive bonds as it flew freely through the air, before remembering gravity and leaving splinters around the room. The chief stood above the table, split in half, its lowered first fist slowly brought back as he stretched his palm. I could have broken his arm just to deliver the point of returning it. The chief ran this once more through his head. But then he might have tried to hide it from me after he got the Baetylus, if he thinks I want the crystal too desperately. He has no idea of its value, or what it might be able to do. That Gurog claws for the power of Kurog, and his spirits, like an orc, hounds war. At least now he knows what the spirits seek. For the sake of victory, he had to share the knowledge that it was the Baetylus with Kurog. He cannot have him flail about in human and elven lands like an idiot looking for random purple things. There is little time before the next battle that might decide all of their fates. Why must I be more intelligent than everyone around me? It'd be that much easier if I could just revel in war like the rest of my kin, instead of trying to win. The chief lamented before turning to glance at his gray skin, and reminding himself it wasn't possible. The chief looked out of his windows at Guruk's departure as One Eye came in, looked at the broken table, and then turned to the chief. In turn, the chief turned to One Eye and spoke.
Tell the Greys we meet tomorrow at dawn. It's about the purple Baetylus. I found another.